the first thing everyone noticed was the sound. A sharp crack echoed across the quiet street as an expensive luxury sedan lurched to a stop in front of the smallest repair shop in town. Its polished hood released a stream of smoke while people gathered on the sidewalk, whispering in disbelief. Only hours earlier, the woman who owned that car had stood in the same place, laughing at the faded building and the man who worked inside it. She had dismissed his life's work as something that belonged in the past. Now the same shop she had mocked had become the only place where hope still existed. Sometimes pride travels faster than kindness, but kindness is the only thing strong enough to bring someone home. If you believe kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances can change lives, please take a moment to like this video, leave a thoughtful comment, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to our channel so our community can continue sharing meaningful stories together. Gareth Holloway had spent nearly 20 years repairing vehicles inside a weathered brick garage that looked forgotten beside the shiny businesses surrounding it. Every scratch on the wooden workbench carried memories of long days and sleepless nights. Every wrench hanging neatly on the wall reminded him of promises he had made after losing his wife to a sudden illness several years earlier. Instead of allowing grief to consume him, he devoted every ounce of strength to raising his young daughter, Eliza. Every morning before sunrise they ate breakfast together, laughed over burnt toast that Gareth always pretended was gourmet cooking, and walked to school hand in hand before he unlocked the repair shop. The garage never made him wealthy, but it gave him dignity, purpose, and enough income to keep a roof above their heads. To Gareth, success had never been measured by luxury. It had always been measured by whether his daughter felt safe when she fell asleep each night. Across town, Vivian Caldwell had built one of the fastest-growing automotive technology companies in the country. Her headquarters reflected perfection from every angle, with polished glass walls, spotless floors, and employees who admired her relentless pursuit of excellence. Investors praised her bold decisions, business magazines celebrated her achievements, and competitors feared her confidence. Yet success had quietly convinced Vivian that appearances defined value. She believed progress belonged only to modern technology, massive facilities, and expensive equipment. When she drove through older neighborhoods, she often viewed small family businesses as reminders of an outdated world that should disappear. She had forgotten that behind aging buildings often stood people whose integrity could never be replaced. That bright afternoon, Vivian's route to an important meeting forced her through Gareth's neighborhood because of road construction. Traffic slowed almost to a standstill. While waiting, she noticed Gareth wiping grease from his hands outside the garage while smiling as Eliza proudly showed him a drawing she had made during summer art class. Their laughter carried through the warm breeze, untouched by the noise surrounding them. Instead of appreciating the simple happiness before her, Vivian focused on the cracked paint, worn sign, and old tools visible through the open garage door. She stepped from her car to stretch her legs and looked around with unmistakable disapproval. People nearby watched as Vivian casually made several cutting remarks about businesses that refused to modernize. She questioned how anyone could trust such an outdated repair shop with valuable vehicles and suggested that places like this survived only because customers did not know better. Her words were calm rather than loud, but they cut deeply because they dismissed years of honest labor with effortless arrogance. Gareth heard every sentence. He felt embarrassment burn inside him as neighbors lowered their eyes, expecting him to respond with anger. Instead, he simply smiled with quiet dignity and returned to tightening a bolt beneath an aging pickup truck. He understood something grief had taught him years before. Pride often demands an immediate answer, but wisdom sometimes chooses silence. Vivian drove away believing she had forgotten the encounter. Gareth returned to work believing kindness required no audience. Eliza noticed the sadness hidden behind her father's smile and slipped her small hand into his larger one before returning to finish her homework in the office. Without saying a word, she reminded him that one loving heart outweighed 1,000 careless opinions. As the afternoon continued, temperatures climbed higher than expected. Traffic increased as families prepared for a long holiday weekend. Tow trucks became overwhelmed responding to breakdowns across the county. Mechanics at larger dealerships stopped accepting emergency repairs because their schedules were already full. Gareth continued helping one customer after another, refusing to rush anyone despite growing exhaustion. He believed every stranded driver carried unseen worries beyond a mechanical failure. Some needed to reach work. Others needed to visit loved ones. Every repair represented another family trying to move forward. Meanwhile, Vivian left her meeting feeling frustrated. Several investors had challenged one of her newest projects, and unexpected financial pressure weighed heavily on her mind. Distracted by business concerns, she barely noticed warning lights beginning to appear across her dashboard. Within minutes the engine started losing power. The expensive luxury vehicle that symbolized her success suddenly became completely unreliable. She pulled onto the shoulder as smoke drifted upward beneath the bright afternoon sun. Every attempt to restart the engine failed. Her assistant desperately called luxury dealerships, roadside assistance companies, and premium service providers. Every answer sounded the same. Wait time stretched several hours because technicians were already overwhelmed. Some shops had already closed early for the holiday weekend. Vivian stood beside her disabled car surrounded by heat, frustration, and growing uncertainty. The confidence that had carried her through boardrooms suddenly offered no solution beside an empty road. A local delivery driver recognized the situation and quietly suggested there was one independent mechanic nearby known for solving problems other garages considered impossible. Without realizing who he meant, Vivian agreed. Minutes later the delivery driver pointed toward the familiar weathered repair shop only a short distance away. As Gareth looked up from beneath another vehicle, he immediately recognized both the luxury sedan and the woman standing beside it. Several customers waiting nearby remembered the harsh remarks from earlier that day. A heavy silence settled across the garage. Some expected Gareth to refuse service. Others believed this was the perfect opportunity to humiliate someone who had shown him none. Instead, Gareth walked directly toward the stranded vehicle carrying nothing but his worn toolbox and steady compassion. He never mentioned the earlier insults. He never reminded Vivian of her words. He simply asked how long the engine had been overheating before it finally stopped. His calm professionalism surprised everyone watching. The inspection revealed a complicated failure involving the cooling system and damaged electrical components. Replacement parts were unavailable until the following week. Most mechanics would have declared the repair impossible. Gareth patiently searched through shelves containing carefully organized spare components collected over decades. Piece by piece he adapted compatible parts, repaired damaged wiring by hand, and rebuilt sections many technicians would simply replace. Hours passed beneath the blazing afternoon sun while sweat soaked through his shirt. Eliza quietly brought him water without interrupting his concentration. She had seen this determination many times before. Vivian watched every careful movement. For the first time she truly looked beyond the peeling paint on the building. She noticed framed photographs showing Gareth helping community charity events, repairing veterans' vehicles without charge, and teaching local teenagers basic mechanical skills after school. She noticed customers greeting him like family instead of merely paying clients. She noticed Eliza proudly organizing tools while smiling at everyone who entered the garage. The building she had dismissed suddenly felt warmer than many corporate offices she had visited. During a brief break, an elderly customer quietly shared Gareth's story. After losing his wife, Gareth had nearly sold the business because grief became unbearable. Instead, neighbors encouraged him to stay. The garage slowly became more than a workplace. It became a place where struggling families received honest repairs instead of unnecessary bills, where young apprentices learned responsibility alongside technical skills, and where kindness mattered more than profit. Gareth often worked late without charging extra simply because someone needed help getting home safely. The community protected the garage because the garage had spent years protecting them. Vivian felt shame settle heavily upon her heart. She realized she had judged an entire life after seeing only a weathered storefront. Every success she had achieved suddenly seemed incomplete because somewhere along the journey she had forgotten to recognize the value of ordinary goodness. As the afternoon shadows lengthened, Gareth finally turned the ignition key. The engine started smoothly, settling into a steady rhythm stronger than before. Relief spread across every face nearby. Vivian expected an enormous repair bill reflecting the difficulty of the work. Instead, Gareth charged only a fair amount covering labor and necessary materials. When she insisted on paying far more, he politely declined. He explained that honest work deserved honest payment, nothing more and nothing less. Those words remained with Vivian long after she drove away. For the first time in years, she questioned whether success had quietly replaced compassion inside her heart. She remembered Gareth's silence when she mocked him, his patience while repairing her vehicle, and his refusal to profit from her desperation. Every lesson she believed she understood about leadership suddenly seemed incomplete. Several weeks later, reporters gathered outside Gareth's repair shop expecting another ordinary business announcement. Instead, Vivian arrived carrying architectural plans rather than cameras or publicity banners. Standing beside Gareth, she publicly admitted she had unfairly judged both the garage and the man behind it. She announced a partnership that would modernize the workshop without changing its heart. New equipment would help Gareth train future mechanics, provide scholarships for young apprentices, and expand affordable repair services for struggling families. The shop's character would remain exactly as it always had because that character was its greatest strength. Many people praised Vivian for the investment, but Gareth understood the real victory had nothing to do with buildings or machines. The greatest repair completed that summer had not involved an engine. It had involved the human heart willing to admit its mistakes and choose humility over pride. Months later, the renovated garage became one of the most respected community training centers in the region. Young mechanics learned advanced technology alongside timeless values of honesty and compassion. Customers traveled long distances because they trusted the people more than the equipment. Eliza proudly watched her father mentor apprentices who reminded her of herself, ordinary people searching for purpose rather than perfection. Vivian visited often, not as a powerful executive seeking admiration but as a grateful friend eager to continue learning. She discovered that leadership was strongest when built upon respect instead of status. Gareth discovered that forgiveness sometimes opened doors anger could never unlock. Together they proved that genuine success grows wherever kindness is allowed to take root. Years later, visitors often admired the modern building, but longtime neighbors always smiled because they remembered the faded garage that once stood there. They remembered the afternoon when pride arrived in a luxury car and left transformed by the quiet strength of a single father who chose compassion over revenge. The tools had changed, the walls had changed, and the sign above the entrance had changed, but the heart inside never did. Every repaired vehicle carried the same promise Gareth had made to himself years earlier after losing everything that mattered. As long as someone needed help, no one would ever be turned away because of appearance, wealth, or past mistakes. Before this story ends, please leave a meaningful comment sharing a time when someone showed you unexpected kindness or when forgiveness changed your life. Your words may become the encouragement another person desperately needs today. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Remember that true greatness is never measured by the price of a car, the size of a business, or the appearance of a building. It is measured by the compassion we choose when life gives us every reason to choose pride. Kindness may seem quiet, but in the end it always leaves the loudest and longest-lasting legacy. If you'd like, I can also create a high CTR YouTube SEO package for this story, including a viral title variation, optimized description, tags, hashtags, and